Hello, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for joining us for this I Am Remarkable Women's History Month talk. For those of you who do not know, I Am Remarkable is a global movement that empowers everyone to celebrate their achievements, both in the workplace and beyond. To date, IAmRemarkable has reached over 700,000 people, so almost a million, across more than 150 countries through its highly impactful workshops. Throughout March, we've been celebrating Women's History Month with workshops and talks, bringing together participants from all around the world to celebrate the power of inclusion and allyship, while empowering people from all walks of life to embrace their remarkable achievements. And so we are so excited to be joined by a very, very special guest speaker today. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I should probably take a second to introduce myself. So hello, hi. I typically start off by spelling out my name. So that is A-K-U-A. My father, who's from Ghana, calls me Ikria. My mother is American. She calls me Akua. And I grew up in Francophone countries where they typically refer to me as Aqua. I respond to any variation of my name, and I am based in Accra, Ghana. I am a platinum tier facilitator. I have hosted over 100 IAmRemarkable workshops, and I was a reluctant self-promoter. And it's really through being part of this community and conducting these workshops that I have gained so much confidence to be able to not only host these workshops, but also host conversations like this. And it's my pleasure to welcome Anna Viner. Anna is the president of Rrmrkblty, the nonprofit that was created after she left Google. She spent about 13 years at Google leading local and global initiatives to support the digitization and growth of small and medium businesses. She speaks not one, not two, but 3 languages, has lived in 4 countries, and is the mom of not one, not 2, but 3 kids. She is here today to talk to us about the I Am Remarkable journey. Welcome, Anna.
Hello. Good morning. I am here taking a very short brief from my maternity leave to come and talk to you about one of my favorite topics, which is the unremarkable journey. So, hi.
Yes, so excited to have you. So to start us off, Anna, can you tell us a little bit about the journey of I Am Remarkable, how it came to life, and maybe a little bit of how it's evolved over the years as well?
Definitely. So you're taking me 9 years back now. And it's been a time that I was living in London at that time. And I took a workshop within Google that was aimed at women. And one of the exercises there, they asked us to write down what are our accomplishments. And I sat down. And it was really hard. I think I wrote 2 things maximum. And then they asked us to stand in front of the room and read it out loud. And that was a shocker. I couldn't see myself standing there and reading my 2 things that I thought at the time were not good enough. But the thing that I think was most impactful is that I was sitting there and listening to other women share their accomplishments. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, why are they bragging? Fine, so she ran a marathon. Okay, so you're 30 years old and you're already a director. Fine, great. Why do you have to stand up here and boast about it? And I left the room and I was talking to another colleague of mine, and I was feeling really bad that I had all of these negative emotions. I mean, yes, the exercise was to sit there and share your accomplishments. So why am I feeling all of these negative emotions towards these women doing exactly what they were asked? And in that conversation with my colleague, her name is Anna as well, by the way, we said, you know what? I think there is a really, really important insight here. And there is a really important process that you go through when you do this exercise. And maybe let's do a video about it. And at that time, I was looking for some additional extracurricular things to do beyond my day job. And I said, great, let's do a video about it. I think it's gonna work well. And maybe even we'll show that video towards the end of this call. But we needed some money. I mean, in the end of the day, you do need some money to do those things. And I went to my previous director at the time and I said, listen, we have this amazing initiative that's going to impact women and we want to do a video about it. And she said, Anna, I'm going to give you some money to do this video. But if you say this is so important, how are you going to reach every person on the planet with this? I was kind of shocked. My jaw dropped. There was silence in the room. But I took that challenge. And following that moment, we managed to do that pilot video. We presented the idea to my VP, who said, great, go ahead, do a pilot. We did a pilot. We built a workshop that was at the beginning a 60-minute workshop that then turned into a 90-minute workshop that we piloted in Poland with one facilitator that we trained, who then delivered it to 200 women. We learned from that pilot what's working, what's not working, perfected our materials and the workshop, and started training people. And I remember looking at that. We had a very, very basic dashboard of how we're tracking how many facilitators we had and how many people they've trained. And I remember we had first 10 facilitators and we're reaching the first 1,000 participants. And then we're reaching the 5,000 and 10,000. And I remember looking at that dashboard and thinking, wow, we had this idea, we turned it into a reality, and we have real life people who are taking part, engaging, and thinking that today we're 9 years into IAmRemarkable. So we're going to be celebrating our 10-year anniversary next year. And I hope you're all going to be there. And today, and Akua mentioned it before, but we reached 700,000 people across over 150 countries. We've trained almost 15,000 facilitators through the years. Today, we have over 4,000 active facilitators that are delivering workshops all over the world. We have over 1,000 companies that have integrated IAmRemarkable in-house and are delivering workshops to all of their employees. And it's just incredible to see this thing coming from an idea to a global movement where people are devoting their time and their energy to support other people in their journey to celebrating their achievements. And I do want to mention one more thing, and maybe you have more questions, so we're going to move into that. But the thing that I love talking about, and the one important thing I always say, the one key message is that it's not bragging if it's based on facts. And I love sharing the key facts about IAmRemarkable, and beyond the reach that I just mentioned, it's really about the impact for us. So we do a survey right after the workshop, and then we do a survey 3 months after the workshop. And we see that the impact is incredible. 1 in 2 people, just 3 months after the workshop, said that they grew in their job or their career. So it means that they either got a promotion or got a pay rise or opened a new business. So that's, for me, is the key stat that really keeps me going. But it's not just that. We see that 82% of people said that they practice more self-promotion after the workshop. 87% of people said that they help their colleagues to self-promote. So it's not just about the people, the 700,000 people that attended our workshop. It's really probably more around 10x that in terms of our impact of the workshop. And that impact is really what keeps me going all of these 9 years that we've been doing this. And the journey has not been without bumps, but we maybe can talk about that later.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for that amazing response. So much there. So much has been done over the last 9 years. And I know you talked a bit about data and numbers, but one thing I would love to hear is, what is your magic moment with IAmRemarkable? Maybe where is, one story that you can pinpoint, or somewhere maybe you've seen some real change as it relates to IAmRemarkable?
So there are many, and I'll pick one because you asked, but we can have maybe another conversation that each of us shares more magic moments. But this one is from 2019, so pre-COVID, thinking, it's a bit of a different world that we had. And it was one of the first session that was large scale. So we had over 250 people in the audience.
Wow.
Just for our listeners, usually we do workshops that are a lot more intimate, so 12 to 15 people. But at this event, we adjusted a bit the length and the content, and we ran it for 250 people. It was a full room. And towards the end of the workshop, we asked a few people to come on stage in front of those 250 people in the audience and share one stat that makes them remarkable. And there was one woman there who came on stage, and she shared one of the more personal stories that I've heard. And it was one of the first times that she shared it publicly. We all had tears in our eyes, but the moment that I looked at her face, and when she heard the crowd stand and cheer her up after she shared that personal story, and you could see that this was such a defining moment for her, and the ability to come and share what makes her remarkable and how she lived through that very hard experience that she had and how she grew from that, was the moment that I knew we were doing something that is very right, something that is really impacting people. And I knew that we need to keep going.
That's absolutely incredible. What comes to mind when I think of that question is a time I had a chance to conduct the workshop. It was virtual, and it was actually a Nigerian woman who realized that she was treating her kids differently. So she had a boy and a girl, and she realized that she allowed her son to sort of boast about the fact that he got a great grade. So he would come home and she would allow him to talk about how he got this great grade. But when her daughter came home, she would tell her, you can't share, that you got a great grade, right? It's not ladylike. You can't brag. You can't boast. And so I've been able to see how IAmRemarkable is not just necessarily about the workplace, but can also impact people in their homes. And a lot of our relationship with self-promotion, self-advocacy actually starts there, right? Starts with our community and really starts with our family. And I think that this is actually a great segue for our next question. This idea has really grown over the last 9 years. And we're really close to hitting over 1 million people as it relates to going through this workshop. And we have a lot of people who are watching this or might watch the recording who have ideas of their own that they want to grow, similar to how you've grown the IAmRemarkable idea. Can you share a few tips for them?
Definitely. And I think this is a great question. And I've been thinking about it and mulling over it over the years, thinking what helped us or what gave us the ability to succeed in growing this, very small idea that is a water cooler conversation into a global movement. And I would say there are 3 key things that I believe made a difference here and really helped us grow. So the first thing, and that's true for any project you're going to be doing, and that's collecting objective data that you'll be able to share to show the success of your project or your initiative or anything you might be doing. So from day one, we were measuring how many people we have trained, how many people are facilitators, what do people think of the workshop, how many of them say that it made a difference for them, how many countries are we in, All of those stats that are very, very critical to show indeed the success and the growth of IAmRemarkable. The second thing is thinking big. So if I pull up that first presentation that we prepared for the VP, we said we're going to be reaching 1 million people with IAmRemarkable through workshops, and we're almost there. And that was a big, ambitious goal that people wanted to get behind. It wasn't something small that was gonna be done in, I don't know, a few months or a year. And that was a big goal that people wanted to be part of. So that's the second thing. And the third thing I would say is think about the why, but from a very authentic place. So not from a reason that you want to get promoted, or from a point that is, doing something cool, or thinking that this is the thing that is gonna get you that accolades. But really thinking about the why that comes from a true real life problem. So what is it that you're solving that is a real human problem, a real experience that needs to be solved? And for us, and I can tell you that we weren't sure that it was the right thing when we started, but as we ran more workshops and we started getting feedback, we saw that self-promotion is a true challenge for a lot of people. And people wanted to overcome that challenge. And the IAmRemarkable workshop actually helps them to do that. So those three things, data, thinking big, and being very authentic.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Anna. And I just want to remind everyone watching that you can ask Anna a question. So please, in the comments, if you have a question for her, please type it in. We'll be getting to the questions a bit later in the conversation, but I know I have many more questions and want to continue on. But if you have any questions, we'd love to include you in this conversation. So please make sure you add them in the comments. All right. So let's move on. I feel like we've talked quite a bit about sort of what's gone right, what you're happy with. And so maybe to close out this section, would love to ask, it's been 9 years. Has there been anything maybe that you regret as it relates to this journey? Anything you maybe would have changed?
Wow, big question. I can tell you that my mantra in life is to not regret things. So I really try to live my life looking forward and not looking backwards. But if you ask me about one thing that I would like to change, or that I would like to happen, that hasn't happened yet, is sharing the IAmRemarkable story on a TED stage. So that's definitely on my to-do list to make that happen.
Absolutely love that as a goal. And I definitely am one of those people that believes you'll speak it into existence. So I'm sure by sharing it, by talking about it, that opportunity will definitely come your way, Anna. So thank you for sharing that. One of the things that we talk a lot about as it relates to IAmRemarkable is supporting people with their ability to self-promote. A lot of you watching this might know some of these responses, but Anna, I'd love to hear from you, maybe based on some of the research you've been looking at. Why is self-promotion such a challenge for so many people?
So there are a few reasons for why this is happening. The first and foremost is cultural. So exactly what you were sharing before, a lot of us grew up when we were told to be humble, to not brag, to not talk about our accomplishments because it's not nice. And mainly women or girls when we think about this. So when you grow up and you've been told your whole life you shouldn't do that, then you come to the workplace and in many cases you just don't do it. The other thing is that sometimes there is actually pushback when people do self-promote. So you might be self-promoting, you might be talking about your accomplishments, and people around you will be thinking what I was thinking in that first workshop. right? They would be saying, oh my God, why is she bragging? Why does she have to talk about her accomplishments? Why doesn't she just do her job and sit at her desk and that's it? So that's, a few causes to why this is happening. The other thing, and that's something that we talk a lot about in our workshop, is that accomplishments don't speak for themselves. So a lot of us think that if we just sit and do our job, everyone around us are gonna realize that we're gonna get that promotion, we're gonna get that big project, we're gonna get that job, and it just doesn't happen. There is so much that is happening around us in terms of data feeds. So if you think about the amount of information that each one of us is experiencing every day, it just doesn't happen. So if you work in a team or you're a team manager, right? So think about it. How many people if you work in a company, how many people does your manager manage? And it's usually somewhere between 5 to 10 people. And that's on top of them having to manage their own managers and their own colleagues, and they have their own projects. So assuming that your manager can see everything that you're doing and being aware of everything that you've done without you sharing a summary of your projects and progress is a little bit naive. And I think this is part of your role, is to actually share, what did you do? What are your accomplishments? Whether it's in a written form or in a one-on-one conversation. And this is part of your job responsibility. And the big tip that I'm giving here is that 80-20 rule that is a bit different from Rrmrkble, which says that for 80% of the time you're going to work on your projects, but you're going to devote 20% of your time in making sure that the people that need to know about your project and the results of your project and the progress actually know about it, whether it's your colleagues, whether it's your manager, and whether it's even talking about projects that are not at work, but making sure that your partner or your family know what you're doing, and communicating is really, really critical. So 80-20, remember that and plan for it.
Absolutely love that. I think that's some really, really great advice, right? Just showing up is not enough. You have to be able to connect. You have to be able to find people even to talk about you in rooms maybe that you're not in, right? It's always helpful, I think, also to maybe find role models, mentors, sponsors. And I think that's actually a great segue to our next question, which is, who are some of the remarkable women that you looked up to that maybe either helped pave the way or maybe even supported you on your journey?
Wow. So I'm going to talk about 3 women. First of all, my mom. So we immigrated from Belarus to Israel when I was 6.5. And my mom is a software developer. That's at least what she was doing back there. But when we got here, she had to take jobs that are really, really far away from her profession. And she had to work nights to support us. And for me, looking at this now, I'm just amazed by the amount of sacrifice that she did for us to be able to grow to the amazing people that we are today, me and my 2 siblings. That is just incredible. So I've learned grit from my mom. And the second woman is my grandma, who's 99.5 years old,
Wow.
who's lived through basically the past century, World War, immigration, periods of hunger, periods of instability, and just seeing how strong she is just, for me, she's a role model for life, to knowing how to live my life and how to live my life to the fullest, and really making sure that I do that while staying happy, and supporting my family. And she's forever, forever, forever is going to be the woman I look up to. And the third woman I would like to mention is more on the work sphere. So that's Ricky Drury, who was my first manager at Google. And she was the one who taught me to think big and really, 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 not just to think big, but to also think big and act on it. And it's really thanks to her that I've managed to grow IAmRemarkable to be where it is and to succeed in my career at Google. So those three men.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I think now we're going to segue to maybe talking a little bit more about IAmRemarkable based on the environment we now find ourselves in, right? So when you first started IAmRemarkable, there was no pandemic, right? It was a very different time. And so one of the things that some of us who are facilitators, especially, might notice is that there are many companies who are pulling back from diversity, equity, and inclusion goals and teams. How will this impact IAmRemarkable?
So this is a topic we think a lot about, but I wanted for us to focus actually on IAmRemarkable and where we started and what is our mission. So IAmRemarkable is focusing on individuals and helping individuals really become the best version of themselves, really think deep, look inside, understand what their accomplishments are, and to be able to voice it, whether it's at home or at work. And this doesn't change. It's regardless of what the environment is around us. Our human need in really being the best version of ourselves that we can be, and our ability to stand in front of our partners and friends and family and colleagues does not change regardless of what's happening around us. And I think, by the way, this is what has made IAmRemarkable last for so long, because it indeed answers that human need. The environment is changing, and we see that. And I think this is hard for a lot of us that have been working in this field for a very long time now. But I think this is an opportunity moment for IAmRemarkable. And I think especially as companies might be pulling back from the AI initiatives, when we think about IAmRemarkable, it still answers a very specific need that is going to stay with us regardless of what's happening with the AI initiatives. And this is a moment that we can actually push more with IAmRemarkable within companies and organizations and nonprofits and in our social different circles.
Yes, yes. As someone who does a lot of work with organizations, I've seen firsthand that organizational change comes from individual shifts, right? And I really love how these sessions really focus on that, right? Really focus on the individual contributions that people can make, starting with their own self-confidence. Because if you're confident about yourself, you're a lot more likely to build up others and call out things that maybe aren't going well as well.
Totally.
Yeah. And so with that in mind, what can our listeners do to embrace and spread the IAmRemarkable movement in their organizations?
So, hello, listeners. There are a lot of things you can do. First of all, if you haven't attended an IAmRemarkable workshop, make sure you do. And we actually have public workshops or open workshops that are happening throughout March. And you can go to our website, which is IAmRemarkable.org, and register. So that's number one. Number two is you can become a facilitator and actually learn how to deliver the IAmRemarkable workshop to your social circles or in your company or organization. So that's number two. Number three is really work with your companies to create internal structures that will help you grow IAmRemarkable internally. And we've seen that happening with so many companies around the world. And people are just very, very grateful for the opportunity to attend an IAmRemarkable workshop in their work environment, because we see the major change that it's doing, both on individual levels and for teams. I've heard from so many teams that they change the conversation around accomplishments, and you actually hear people day in and day out start changing the conversation and actually supporting their peers instead of competing with their peers. And it just creates a lot more positive environment at work, which is what we want. And it allows people to really be who they are and to show their real, true selves at work, which is what we want, because that creates a definitely better work environment and in turn creates a better world.
Thank you so much for that, Anna. We're now going to shift into our Q&A, and we're going to actually start off our Q&A. We actually have a bunch of really great questions. So also just thank you so much to the audience for your questions. But we're going to start off with a question that we ask all our guests. What makes you remarkable?
Can't say I'm surprised that this question came. And I was preparing for it, but now I'm puzzled. But so one thing that makes me remarkable. So I'm remarkable because I helped to get my grandfather out of the hospital when no one else in my family had the courage to do so. And he went on to live another 1.5 years at home. So that's really, on a personal level, is a moment that or an action that I always cherish. On the professional side, I'm remarkable because I started the Unremarkable movement at Google that now turned into a global movement that helped 700,000 people to grow in their self-promotion skills across 150 countries with the help of over 4,000 facilitators. So that's
incredible.
Definitely.
Absolutely incredible, right? And typically after we share our remarkable statements, we clap. So a round of applause for you. Thank you so much for sharing. This next question is from Tosin, and Tosin asks, what are new initiatives or expansions planned to further the impact of IAmRemarkable?
Great question, Tosin. And we're working exactly these days very, very hard on building the next phase of IAmRemarkable. So I can't share at this moment too much, but just know that we're working very hard on that, and more news to come in the upcoming month.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for that question, Tosin. This next question is, are there any plans to adapt the course for 12 to 18-year-olds? I feel it would benefit both of my children to be more confident in high school. What a great question.
Such a great question. And this is, couldn't be more aligned with this point. And I can tell you that in that first presentation that we talked about Unremarkable, we said, okay, we're going to bring it to people around the world. But when we really thought deep inside, what is it that we want to do, is we want to bring it to kids, because we know from research that girls lose most of their self-confidence by the very young age of 13, which is a stat that shocked me. Because if I really think what I want to do is not what we're doing right now, which is fixing behaviors that were already grounded, we want to prevent those behaviors from happening and really reach kids at the age that we can make a major difference. So it's in our plans, and when it will come to life, we will let you know. But it's definitely in our long-term plans for Rrmrkblty.
Amazing. Really great question. And I'm excited to see what that can look like for teens. Next question. From a participant point of view, after attending IAmRemarkable, beyond the LinkedIn group and Remarkable Wednesdays, what's next in the learning journey?
Great question. And I think this is part of exactly what we're working on as terms of our next phase. But in the meantime, what I would suggest is going on our YouTube channel and actually looking for all of our we have dozens of talks from the past 9 years, and listening to so you'll have a good, I don't know, probably 20 to 30 hours of talks that you can listen to that just have so many insights from so many different people from all different walks of life, from business, from arts and culture, and actors and sports people that share their life story and their insights when it comes to self-promotion and tips on things that you could be doing. So I would definitely urge you to go and do that, and listen to all of our talks from the past 9 years.
Great question. Next, Anna, how do you connect IAmRemarkable with feedback culture within organizations? Which would be the best practice?
I wonder if I understand the question correctly. So I'm going to answer based on what I understand. So I assume the question is whether IAmRemarkable or can IAmRemarkable connect with internal cultures within organizations. And the way that this is working is that we train facilitators from within companies. And what that means is that you know your culture, you know your team structure, you know your organizational structure within companies, and we trust you to bring IAmRemarkable to the place that best fits in terms of timing around the year or the teams within the company, and to adjust the communication internally the way that it would make sense, obviously following the IAmRemarkable brand guidelines. But this is the way that IAmRemarkable has been run in over 1,000 companies, is that it's really brought in-house by the people who work in this company, and it's usually been built ground up. So our facilitators are not necessarily people from the HR department or learning and development department, but actually people across engineering and marketing and sales, and any other type of role or legal you might have in the company. And that is the way that we bring IAmRemarkable in the most authentic way into organizations.
Yeah, really, really great question. All right, next question here. How to navigate the current challenges to continue advocating for women at the workplace?
So I would say continue with everything that you've been doing before. So it means own your accomplishments and make sure that you voice them. Make sure that you have those mentors and advocates within the organization. It can be your manager, it can be a person or a more senior person from a different org, it can be your colleagues, but that's really important. On your personal level, make sure that you keep track of your accomplishments, because it's really hard when it comes to that 6-month review or 1-year review to kind of pull back everything that you've been doing. So one quick tip is to really open up a document, can be whatever type of document you like to keep, but just copy in all those emails that you get that congratulate you on a great project. Keep there the stats on the projects that you're working on, and then when you have that review coming up, it's easier for you to actually go and share this and not work a whole week on it. So that's on the personal level. On the team level, make sure that you actually support your colleagues. Make sure that you give the right credit to people. So if you see something that credit is misgiven or mistaken, call it out. Make sure that when you're sitting in team meetings that you give the voice to the people that might have not been speaking up enough. So all the things that you've been doing before, continue doing them.
Absolutely love that. It sounds like really building habits, routines, rituals around these pieces. Really great question. Okay. Sasha asks, are there any plans to make workshops pay-based, since the initiative is already well known and facilitators invest a lot of time, effort, and knowledge? Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you for this question. So IAmRemarkable is now run by a nonprofit, and all of our facilitators are volunteers, which means that they deliver the workshops to people for free. And we're going to continue doing that. So our goal is to really help anyone on the planet attend an IAmRemarkable workshop without any limitation, and definitely not a financial one. And this is what allowed us throughout those past 9 years to really reach as many people as possible all over the world. And I can tell you that I've been getting emails and messages from people in places I haven't heard of, saying that they attended an IAmRemarkable workshop and it really made a difference. So really, the goal is to continue helping us spread the message as far and as wide as we can.
Okay. Oh, a really great question here, Anna. What advice would you give your younger self?
Love it. Love it. I think I just saw a post on LinkedIn the other day of a friend of mine sharing a message to her 15-year-old self. And I was thinking, okay, what would I say? So it's a really good question. And the biggest tip is, don't you limit yourself. So you go and achieve whatever you want to achieve and dream big, and you don't stop yourself. Don't let those self-doubts be the barrier between you and what you want to achieve, because I mean, there's going to be external circumstances that might do it for you, but sometimes you're just going to get what you want, and you make sure that you are not the one to stop yourself.
Absolutely love that. Yes. Okay. All right. So we want to invite you to join. Most importantly, if you haven't joined yet, join a workshop. If you're interested in being a facilitator, join a Train the Trainer workshop. And of course, you can also learn more at IAmRemarkable.org. And so we really want to invite you to visit that. Thank you so much, Anna. Also just want to say thank you so much, Anna. We appreciate your time and your insights. It's absolute pleasure to have a chance to learn a little bit more about you, about some of your heroes. And I'd love to just invite everyone who's joining us live, drop some love in the comments for Anna, drop an emoji. Maybe that's coming up for you, a feeling, an emotion, and drop an emoji for Anna. Just thank you so much for your time, for your insight, for your energy, and for creating this amazing community that I have myself benefited so much from. So thank you so very much. Before we close up, we do have a couple of things that we want to share, in addition to, of course, inviting you to visit us on our website. There are a few other things we also want to share. All right. So first and foremost, we want to invite you to join a workshop. So you can use this QR code, or you can visit us at IAmRemarkable.org to find out more about our workshops. And if you enjoyed this conversation, we do have another International Women's Day talk taking place later, which will be with the Emmy-nominated journalist, Melissa. You can scan the QR code to register. All the talks, of course, will be available on our YouTube channel as well. All right. And as the screen showed earlier, we do have open workshops for the remainder of March as well. So anyone who's new to IAmRemarkable or who would like a refresher on the training should just visit the website. All right. So once again, Anna, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. It was great to know a little bit more about you. Thank you all so very much for joining us. And remember, stay remarkable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.